When you think of a miracle, I bet you think of some Jesus-level occurrence, like walking on water or healing somebody who is sick with the touch of your hands. And I'm guessing that you also think miracles are reserved for those who are very pious or close to God or have some supernatural abilities, and that it's very rare and unlikely for it to occur in the life of an everyday Joe Schmo like myself. Well, guess what? You're wrong! And I'm here to tell you why in this week's episode of Mediocre Guidance. Hello everyone, my name is Sama and welcome to Mediocre Guidance. Today we are going to talk about miracles, which is a video I had promised you guys like a couple episodes ago. But I got super sidetracked and distracted, so sorry. Here it is. Miracles are fundamental to our understanding of A Course in Miracles, as per the title. And why it's important is because I say this nonstop, but we are all the Son of God, and so if we are all collectively one entity, then to reach enlightenment and to reach heaven, we all have to be a part of that. So even that numbskull that you work with every day and you can't stand, they will also have to reach enlightenment and go to heaven for it to be restored to its natural and full state. And so we have to help each other. And the way we do that is the way God has provided, and that is through miracles and through performing miracles. However, like usual, A Course in Miracles turns the definition of what a miracle is upside down on its head, and I love it. The Course goes through the definition of what a miracle is quite extensively, and so I'm just going to go through what I consider like the greatest hits, but if you are interested in learning more, and I do suggest it because it's very cool, I have linked the online web edition, which is free to access, for A Course in Miracles in the description below. And so I am going to be going through... I will be going through chapter 1. Is this reversed? Okay. Is this like a mirror image? What the... Okay. Sorry, guys. I will be going through chapter 1, section 1, and a little bit of section 2 today. If you would like to follow along through the free web edition, or, I don't know, just listen to me, because that's what I'm here for. So I'm going to be going through the, like, you can see it's like a numbered list in this section, which is called Principles of Miracles, and it's quite a long list. So I'm just going to go through what I consider to be the best and main points, which is completely subjective, FYI. There is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not harder or bigger than another. They are all the same. All expressions of love are maximal. I actually quoted this in my episode on hierarchies and equality because it is very important. I think it's a wonderful thing that all expressions of love are considered maximal, because what that basically means is whether you donate a kidney to somebody you love or you're just patting somebody on the back, those are both considered equal in God's eyes. And you may be like, well, that's not fair, but it is, you see, because can you imagine if there was a distinction between how good or how powerful an act of love is in God's eyes? That would just drive us nuts, because we would always be trying to figure out what this threshold is that we need to meet in order to please God and to head towards enlightenment. But because of God's law of unconditional love, he has abolished all that crap, because at the end of the day, every act of love will get you closer to him and get you closer to enlightenment. And so there is relief in that. You don't have to worry about being good enough or doing enough and being loving enough, as long as you are trying to be as loving as you can be. That's it. That's all you have to do, and that in itself is a miracle. And with that, we segue into our next definition, which is miracles occur naturally as expressions of love. The real miracle is the love that inspires them. In this sense, everything that comes from love is a miracle. Miracles are habits and should be involuntary. They should not be under conscious control. Consciously selected miracles can be misguided. Miracles are natural. When they do not occur, something has gone wrong. My interpretation of this is that miracles, or acts of love in this case, should not be used as a means to an end, right? Like when you are, wow, that is my cat scratching. Chong, are you serious? Sorry. As you can tell, chaos reigns supreme in this household. It's just me and my cat. So you shouldn't be performing acts of love in order to get to enlightenment. Like, you can't be like, I only love you because I'm trying to get closer to God. That's not how it should work. It should come from a place of genuine love. So that's what the text is saying, that miracles should be involuntary. And that comes with practice, right? You know, there's a saying that in order to develop a habit, you have to do something consistently for 21 days. As we know, unconditional love takes more than 21 days with certain people. Like, it can take multiple lifetimes to get to the point where you are just Jesus level, loving everybody no matter what, and that's okay. That is what time is for. That is what our lives are for, is to practice being loving and loving others and receiving love. That is what our lives are meant for. And you know, once you get to this point of unconditional love, and honestly, even before that point of feeling enlightened, there are a lot of accounts of people who are starting to see either flashes of light, or they'll look at a person and instead of seeing a physical body, they see a bright column of light, or like a ethereal light form. And that is basically miracles working in your life and taking off this blindfold to the illusion that we consider to be our reality. The use of miracles as spectacles to induce belief is a misunderstanding of their purpose. Loving in order to get that like supernatural ability, that's just like a side effect. That is like a BOGO offer. Miracles are not a magic show. It's not Chris Angel Live or anything. We are loving because it's just the right thing to do. And that will, in turn, have some pretty cool effects. Gary Renard's series of books that I have talked about before actually document a very wide range of pretty cool supernatural effects that happen as we get closer to enlightenment. But that is not why we're doing all this, right, friends? We are doing this to be good people and love each other and help each other to reach God as a collective. I honestly struggled to write out this episode because there are 50 definitions listed in Chapter 1, Section 1, and obviously to be considerate of your time and the runtime of this video in general, I skipped over so much, but it's all amazing, so please check it out. You know, if you actually are enjoying this topic on miracles, I would love to do a part 2, so if you don't have the time or the inclination to read about it, let me know in the comments. I would love to do a second video about miracles. I want to end off this video by deep diving into my favorite aspect of miracles, and that is as follows. Miracles are both beginnings and endings, and so they alter the temporal order. They are always affirmations of rebirth, which seem to go back, but really go forward. They undo the past in the present, and thus release the future. My favorite part about this section of the text in ACIM is that miracles have the capability of collapsing time. And I know that sounds like some Doctor Strange MCU-ish, but I love it. The science nerd in me is very pleased, and so here's a very lengthy passage explaining that, but I will come back and I will do a visual demonstration to break it down for you guys. The miracle minimizes the need for time. In the longitudinal or horizontal plane, the recognition of the equality of the members of the sonship appears to involve almost endless time. However, the miracle entails a sudden shift from horizontal to vertical perception. This introduces an interval from which the giver and receiver both emerge farther along in time than they would otherwise have been. The miracle thus has the unique property of abolishing time to the extent that it renders the interval of time it spans unnecessary. There is no relationship between the time a miracle takes and the time it covers. The miracle substitutes for learning that might have taken thousands of years. It does so by the underlying recognition of perfect equality of giver and receiver on which the miracle rests. The miracle shortens time by collapsing it, thus eliminating certain intervals within it. It does this, however, within the larger temporal sequence. Whew, okay, that was a lot of text, and I don't blame you if that made your head spin. So here I am with a visual demonstration on how it works. I'm hoping I can pull this off. I'm nervous. Okay, you know how we all have like the junk drawer where we just put random crap in? I found a ribbon to do this demonstration. So pray for me because I know my cat is going to be... Here she is. She's coming. Help me. Help me. Let's consider that this is time. Very raggedy, janky time. And, let's say this is the present and this is the future. So when you perform a loving action, what ends up happening is this. Oh, no. Let's try that again. So what happens when you perform a loving action is this. There's a collapse in time on the vertical plane, which is this little bibby here. Okay? And so now what was this whole span of time in between is now gone because you've performed a loving action. And so if we consider the end of this ribbon reaching enlightenment or, reaching God, then that's what miracles do. They basically shorten this length of time through every loving action that occurs. We are collapsing time. I hope that makes sense. I also want to clarify that if this is linear time for us, that's what we're used to. For God, it's all like time is just instantaneous for God. So that would be like me, wow, this ribbon is so long. Why did I should have just cut it shorter. Anyways, okay, pretend that I actually did a decent job rolling this up, but basically time is occurring instantaneously for God, like that. It's just our past, present, and future is just like a smidge once we reach heaven. And so the good news about that is that because time is happening instantaneously, that means that our end result, us reaching enlightenment, is inevitable because it's already happened for God. God has already witnessed it. It has already happened. And so he can say that with surety that we have all succeeded in becoming one as the Son of God and going back to heaven to our Father. Now, how many years that will take, I don't know. That, time is a human construct, so the length of time it will take us to reach enlightenment I have no idea. I don't know. But the more we love each other and create miracles in our lives through love, the shorter that time will get. Of course, the Miracles does mention that it can be multiple lifetimes, but as long as we are heading towards that goal, we will be shortening the amount of lifetimes, and this lifetime matters, okay? So every act that you do, don't wait for another day, start it today. So, in conclusion, if you've ever wanted to be a superhero, love is your greatest superpower. The reason we don't even think about acts of love as miracles is because the effects are happening kind of behind the scenes, right? It's not like you're seeing time collapsing in front of your eyes, but it is happening, and that's where faith comes into play, is that we have to believe what we cannot see. I believe in us. I believe in you, that you are capable of so many miracles in your life. And, when synchronicity comes into play and we start to manifest things through the law of attraction and all that, it's because we are plugged in and we are able to connect to something that is beyond what we consider this reality. So now when you hear of like the doom and gloom version of the end of time, when people talk about apocalypse or like biblical end of times, you can now in your mind think it won't be the end of times, it will be the end of time, period, because time will no longer be necessary. Thank you very much for joining me in this episode of Mediocre Guidance. I will see you guys next time. Have a great week. Bye-bye.